main disconnect is indeed required ahead of the meter stack module. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, mandates a main disconnect for any electrical system possessing a capacity exceeding 100 amps. Given that a 400 amp bus is in place, a main disconnect with a rating of at least 400 amps is necessary. The positioning of this main disconnect should be in a readily accessible location, and it should be clearly labeled to indicate its purpose. To elaborate further, the purpose of a main disconnect is to provide a means to quickly and safely shut off all power to the meter stack in case of an emergency or for maintenance purposes. Without a main disconnect, it would be difficult and potentially dangerous to de-energize the entire system. The NEC provides specific guidelines regarding the installation and rating of main disconnects to ensure safety and reliability. Some of these guidelines include the following. Firstly, the main disconnect must be readily accessible. This means that it should be located in a place where it can be easily reached without having to climb over obstacles or move equipment. Secondly, the main disconnect must be clearly labeled to indicate its purpose. This will help to ensure that anyone who needs to shut off the power to the meter stack can do so quickly and easily. Thirdly, the main disconnect must be rated for the full capacity of the electrical system. In this case, since the system has a 400 amp bus, the main disconnect must be rated for at least 400 amps. Fourthly, the main disconnect must be installed in accordance with all applicable electrical codes. This will help to ensure that it is installed safely and correctly. Failing to install a main disconnect can have significant consequences. For example, it could make it difficult to de-energize the system in an emergency, which could put people at risk of electric shock or fire. It could also result in the system not being compliant with electrical codes, which could lead to fines or other penalties. In addition to the NEC requirements, local electrical codes may also have specific requirements for main disconnects. It is important to check with your local electrical inspector to ensure that you are complying with all applicable codes. Choosing the right location for the main disconnect is crucial for safety and accessibility. Ideally, it should be located near the meter stack module, but in a place where it is easily accessible and not obstructed by other equipment. Consider factors such as lighting, clearance, and potential hazards when selecting the location. Labeling the main disconnect clearly and accurately is essential for identifying its purpose. Use a permanent marker or label maker to create a label that clearly states main disconnect or service disconnect. This will help prevent confusion and ensure that anyone who needs to shut off the power can do so quickly and easily. Regularly inspect the main disconnect to ensure that it is in good working condition. Look for any signs of damage, such as cracks, rust, or loose connections. If you find any damage, have the disconnect repaired or replaced by a qualified electrician. When installing a main disconnect, it is important to follow all manufacturer's instructions and applicable electrical codes. This will help to ensure that the disconnect is installed safely and correctly. A qualified electrician should perform the installation to ensure safety. The NEC contains detailed information about service disconnects, including their location, accessibility, and rating. Consult the NEC for specific requirements related to your installation. For example, NEC Section 230.70. A1 covers the general location requirements, stating the service disconnecting means shall be installed at a readily accessible location either outside of a building or structure, or inside nearest a point of entrance of the service conductors. NEC Section 230.70. A3 covers accessibility and states the service disconnecting means shall be readily accessible. As defined in Article 100, readily accessible means capable of being reached quickly for operation, renewal, or inspections without requiring those to whom ready access is requisite to actions such as to use tools, to climb over or remove obstacles, or to resort to portable ladders, and so forth. NEC Section 230.85 requires an emergency disconnect to be installed for 1 and 2 family dwelling units. Externally mounted. These disconnecting means shall be installed at a readily accessible location outside of the building or structure. Disconnecting means shall be legibly marked in the field with a label containing the wording emergency disconnect, service disconnect. The label shall be of sufficient durability to withstand the environment involved. This code may or may not apply to your situation. There are also requirements for the height of the disconnect. NEC Section 240.24 states that overcurrent devices shall be readily accessible and shall be installed so that the center of the grip of the operating handle of the switch or circuit breaker, when in its highest position, shall be not more than 2.0 meters or 6 feet 7 inches above the floor or working platform, unless one of the following applies: firstly, for busways as described in 368.17. C. Secondly, for supplementary overcurrent protection as described in 240.10. B. in 240.10. C. Thirdly, for overcurrent devices as described in 225.40 and 230.91. B. that are operated by qualified persons. The rating of the overcurrent protection is also important. NEC Section 240.6 describes the standard ampere ratings for fuses and inverse time circuit breakers. The standard ampere ratings for fuses and inverse time circuit breakers shall be considered the rating of the overcurrent device. Standard ampere ratings shall be 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, 500, 600, 700, 800, 1000, 1200, 1600, 2000, 2500, 3000, 4000, 5000, and 6000 amps. Additionally, where inverse time circuit breakers are used, other ampere ratings shall be permitted. It is important to note that the size of the conductors must be rated to handle the load. NEC Section 310.16 describes the allowable ampacities of insulated conductors rated up to and including 2000 volts, 60 degrees Celsius through 90 degrees Celsius. Not more than 3 current carrying conductors in a raceway, cable, or earth directly buried based on ambient temperature of 30 degrees Celsius. In addition, the voltage drop calculation is important to size the conductors correctly. A voltage drop that is too high can cause equipment to malfunction. The general recommendation is to keep the voltage drop below 3% for branch circuits and 5% for feeders. The calculation of voltage drop involves several factors, including the length of the circuit, the current flowing through the circuit, and the resistance of the conductors. There are online calculators and formulas available to assist with this calculation. Proper grounding and bonding are also crucial aspects of electrical safety. Grounding provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps to protect against electric shock. Bonding ensures that all metal parts of the electrical system are electrically connected, which helps to prevent voltage differences that could create a shock hazard. Consult NEC Article 250 for detailed requirements on grounding and bonding. Coordination of overcurrent protection devices is essential to ensure that the correct device trips in the event of a fault. This helps to minimize the extent of the outage and prevent damage to equipment. Coordination studies are typically performed by qualified electrical engineers. Surge protection is another important consideration, especially in areas prone to lightning strikes or power surges. Surge protective devices, or SPDs, can help to protect sensitive electronic equipment from damage caused by surges. NEC Article 280 provides requirements for SPD. Arc flash is a dangerous phenomenon that can occur when there is a fault in an electrical system. Arc flash can cause severe burns, injuries, and even death. It is important to take steps to protect against arc flash hazards, such as wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, and following safe work practices. An arc flash study can help to identify potential arc flash hazards and determine the appropriate level of PPE required. Remember to always consult the latest edition of the NEC and any applicable local codes for the most up-to-date requirements. It is also recommended to consult with a qualified electrical engineer or electrician for assistance with complex electrical installations. Safe electrical practices are paramount when working with electricity. They energize circuits before working on them, use appropriate personal protective equipment, and follow lockout/tagout procedures to prevent accidental energization. Continuous training and education are essential for staying up to date on the latest electrical codes and safety practices. Participate in workshops, seminars, and online courses to enhance your knowledge and skills.